Pokemon stats are almost completely random. Most of you already know that a Pokemon's stats are influenced by a large number of factors. There's IVs, which dictate how many extra points a Pokemon will have in a given stat. Oh, we have minimum special defense Lotad. All right. You've got natures, which increase one stat and decrease another one by 10% each. And then we have plus attack minus speed. Ayo, brave nature on our Surskit. Look at that. Okay, I mean, your stats, again, are fine except speed, but speed is really the only thing you have going for you as a Pokemon, so. And EVs, which actually aren't random, and you manually have to put them into a Pokemon's stats to increase them, but in a regular casual playthrough, even those can feel totally random, as it's just up to whatever Pokemon your Pokemon defeat. If any of that sounded like gibberish to you, you are in the wrong corner of the internet. But what isn't random is a Pokemon's base stats. These are generally what dictate if a Pokemon is good or not. High base stat good, low base stat bad, at least in most cases. But even these Pokemon with high base stats need good IVs and maxed out EVs to really reach their full potential. Today I'm going to put these stats to the test. I want to take only the best Pokemon in a region, those blessed by Game Freak with a 500 or higher base stat total, and give them absolutely no EVs or IVs, and still try to be a hardcore Nuzlocke. Can I do it? Let's find out. Ah, Hoenn, we meet again. Breathe in the salty air as we are forcibly ejected from the back of our moving van. The underdog story of a lifetime starts right here, right now. No stats, no problem. Elite Four, here we come. Professor Birch doubles as the local idiot, getting chased by a raccoon dog that we promptly fight off with our newly acquired pet lizard. Trico is the first member to join our statless ranks, and we name him Toothless since he's just got no bite to him. Even with no additional stats, being overleveled is plenty for us to beat our rival and continue on our merry way. In every channel video so far, we have been unable to actually use a starter Pokemon in a Nuzlocke, and I'm happy to say this is the first, since Sceptile does have a base stat total of 530. We move forward to pick up our routes for our next encounter, and I'll point out that our reduced stats just won't really have much impact in the early game portion of this challenge. Generally speaking, EVs are gained over time anyway, and IVs don't really have a major impact until your Pokemon start getting some decent levels under their belt. I'll also say that because EVs are gained passively and I had to manually remove them, it was a pain enough to do as it was. So if there's a fight or two where Pokemon had enough EVs to raise a stat 1 point, what you gonna do? It's close enough. Oh, and we actually encounter routes first thing on the route, so the odds of that are astronomical as is, but I'm not complaining. We name him Stormfly. We pass straight through Petalburg, say hi to Dad, and move on our way through the Petalburg woods, where this poor humble businessman is being harassed by a pirate of all things. I mean, it's a little far off of being Halloween, but who am I to stop you from expressing yourself? Toothless takes more damage than I would like from Tackle, but we hit a few absorbs, keep our HP up, and a quick attack finishes off the fight. The pirate runs off, leaving us free to enter Rustboro City, home of our first real challenge, the gym leader Roxanne. Fortunately, even without any boost to our stats, Trico with Bullet Seed Stab is more than enough to sweep through Roxanne's team of rock types, or at least the 2 Geodude, which are 4 times weak to the move. Nosepass destroys half of our HP with a single Rock Tomb, meaning our run could be over right here and now. Roxanne fortunately just goes for block the next turn though, meaning we can absorb and get out of KO range. Then that forces out her potion the next turn while we try our luck with Bullet Seed again. But we only seem to be hitting twice no matter what we do. Nosepass goes for Tackle, we Bullet Seed him down to Ren HP, and Roxanne goes for another potion. I know at any moment the AI could select Rock Tomb and we'd be sent right back to the start. We use Bullet Seed one last time, this time hitting 4 consecutive hits, KOing the Nosepass. Toothless evolves, we gain a gym badge, everything is looking up for us. Before we can leave Rustboro, however, our rival stops us asking for a battle. We are free to say no, so we do, at least for now. First, we traverse back into the woods, picking ourselves up the 3rd member of our team, Meatlug the Slackoth. Wasn't really going to be useful as a Slackoth before the first gym, but now that our level cap has increased, we can immediately evolve him into a Vigoroth and add a very powerful member to our team. Even without any IVs or EVs, Vigoroth has a lot of great supporting moves, a diverse offensive move pool, and strong normal stab. Now, we can take on May. Of course, this is still a completely optional fight, but fuck it, I can do it. Toothless easily takes out Lotad with Fury Cutter and Quick Attack, then we switch to Meatlug against Torchic. He eats the Ember, uses Yawn to get Torchic drowsy, and Torchic actually ends up going for Growl. Cool, now we can encore him to be locked into that, switch back out to our star Toothless, and Rock Tomb the chicken to death. We next catch a boat over to Dewford Town, courtesy of Mr. Briny, where we can take on the next gym leader in our statless adventures. And so we do exactly that. Brawly has a team of fighting types, which are really no match for Stormfly, even in his weakened state. Machop makes the mistake of trying to bulk up, which means we have a free 2-shot with Confusion since we still outspeed. The only stat advantage we can reliably have is the fact that, at least for some matchups, we do have levels on our side. Metatite notoriously can't do any damage if you just keep attacking attacking it, so that's a second free KO. Makahita is the only potential issue, but since he also decides to bulk up the first turn, we are free to take it out with 3 consecutive confusions. So far so easy, but early game with less stats isn't too different from a vanilla run, so I guess we're doing about as well as expected. The next member of our team is waiting for us in the Granite Cave, and while looking for it, we stumble across Mr. Steven Stone. What a coincidence! I happen to work part-time at the post office and have a letter to deliver to him. Great! So with that out of the way, my letter satchel now empty, we find and add to the team Skull Crusher the Aeron. But before we move to our next objective, we use our new level cap to evolve our Stormfly into a Kirlia and make sure our team is in 0 stat order before hopping aboard with Mr. Briny once more to head into Slateport City. There isn't too much to do here, but we do get in a bit of sightseeing. May as well stop and smell the roses and all that, but a pirate ambush in the museum? Well, the first Swabby's fish falls to Toothless and his bullet seed, and the second has their bat shot out of the air by Stormfly's confusion, so not too much of an ambush if I'm being quite honest. Their captain shows up, gives his crew a stern talking to, yells something about the sea, and they all run off. Maybe they're just grouchy because they're on land. I can understand. Fish out of water and all that. Oh well, can't dwell on it now. We got our sightseeing in, and the next gym is right next door. They have stats we do not, and I am eager to try. Oh, hey, May, forgot about you. Oh, I can't say no this time, can I? Okay. Well, we sure are getting mileage out of the Rock Tomb TM, using it to take out Wingull with Toothless. Even with no HP or special defense IVs, we should survive 1 Ember, so we stay with Toothless to deal some damage and reduce the speed of May's Combustion. Then we bring in Meatlug, encore the chicken into Ember so it can't hit us with a super effective fighting move, then slack off the damage while putting Combustion to sleep. Encore doesn't quite work while it's asleep, but that's okay. Our plan is just to bring it into range with a few Fury Swipes, bait out the double kick while being at full HP to take it, then switch into Stormfly, who can take the resisted hit. Kirlia has just the worst defenses, especially now, so we can really only switch it into resisted hits, but even that dealt immense damage. Fortunately, with the speed drop from before, we know we can outspeed and pick up the KO with Confusion. Our last Pokemon Lombre is nothing compared to that, and Toothless can take it out easily. Whew! It's crazy that even with these 4 great Pokemon, I'm struggling with the basic fights far more than I did with my trash team the last time I ran through this region. But that's having no stats for you. The good news is, now that we've reached Mauville, we have access to a bunch of powerful TMs, which can help to offset our otherwise middling damage. Now it's time for the ultimate test. Watson is no easy gym leader, a real check for trainers even in a casual playthrough. Been all fun and games up to this point, but it isn't just having lower than average stats that's working against us. Our limited team options really don't give us anything to tackle this gym with. Skull Crusher barely even counts as a Pokemon right now. Is Grovyle, Kirlia, and Vigoroth alone really enough to take on a trainer as tough as Watson? Movesets updated, items equipped, deep breath. Here we go. We lead with Stormfly against Watson's Voltorb. There's every chance in the world it could just explode on the spot, but it's a risk we have to take. Instead though, it goes for Spark and does land the Paralysis. This actually works out fantastically in our favor since Stormfly Synchronize can paralyze the Voltorb in return. Then our held Cherry Berry can heal our own Paralysis, and now we can actually outspeed. That means next turn we land the KO with Psychic, and we are already up 1 in the fight. Electrike is almost just as easy. Swap into Toothless to take the resisted Shockwave, then put down the Stray Pooch with Bullet Seed. Unfortunately in the process, Toothless does take a good chunk of damage. I didn't really have another option here, but that does mean I can't really effectively bring him back out against the Manectric. Not that he could have done much there anyway. The best play I have is to try and stand against Magneton, lower its speed with Rock Tomb, then bring in Skull Crusher to deal some damage with Mud Slap to bring in range of Meatlug's Flamethrower. I know I'm talking fast, but try to keep up, man. The first one lands easily, but Magneton is smart and goes for the Thunder Wave. Fortunately, we can eat our Cherry Berry, granting us a second free speed drop. Shockwave is still resisted, but we don't take more than 2 hits from it and live. We have 2 chances. We just need to break through once. The first turn fails. Fully paralyzed, 25 HP. Second turn, Shockwave leaves us at just 10 HP remaining and Toothless stays paralyzed. The plan has failed. It's over. For even a chance to get through this fight, we would have had to sacrifice Skull Crusher after she dealt as much damage as possible to bring in Meatlug at full HP, take out the Magneton, and then duke it out against the last remaining Pokemon, Manectric. But I'll be totally honest with you, even that wasn't a favorable matchup for us. This fight is just too difficult for this team. Not enough options to overcome our weaknesses, and the strengths we do have just aren't enough. Grovyle can't even take resisted hits. Kirlia can't one-shot with Stab Psychic. Meatlug takes too much damage and can't fire back. We 2-shot the Magneton now, but now what? Struggle as we might, we can only watch as Watson ticks away at our remaining HP, each party member falling 1 by 1 until we fail. But failing is nothing new to me or to Nuzlockers in general. It happens all the time. Hell, I don't even know going into these challenges if they're technically possible or not. So we can't beat Watson, boo-hoo. Know what we do? Pick it up, try again, this time differently, better. I did choose Trico for a reason. We get plenty of water types later, and fire isn't really the best type in Hoenn as a whole, but I never really considered the fact that we don't get access to any ground types until after Watson in the desert. We don't get any before him, that is, except Marsh Stomp. And that, my friends, is how we find ourselves back in the thralls of this challenge challenge, now accompanied by Toothless the Mudkip. The beginning gym fights go about as well as before. We have water to use against Roxanne instead of grass this time, which makes her just as easy. Brawly goes a bit differently since we don't get as lucky with him going for bulk ups, and Ralts takes too much damage early, meaning against Makuhita we stay in as long as possible, proc the Citrus Berry, and then swap over to new better Toothless, water gun a bit, and let Meatlug finish the job. Few more steps, but same result. The last fight with any major differences is the rival fight right before Mauville, but Stormfly takes out Wingull, and Meatlug is more than enough to take out both her Grovyle and Slugma. The only other real difference with our team is that our Stormfly has Trace this time instead of Synchronize. That means, Watson, you and me buddy, round 2. This time, it'll go about as differently as it possibly can, which means an absolute sweep from Toothless Mudshot, cleaning up kills one right after another. It's just a slaughter. Turns out, ground beats electric pretty handily, and that means the challenge can continue. With a new badge in hand, we are allowed to rock smash our way past Route 111, but unfortunately, we still aren't allowed to enter the sand part of the route without safety goggles because our poor eyes just can't seem to handle sand blowing into them. Poor us. Oh well, we can make our way through the fiery path though until it lets us out at Fell Arbor Town. Fell Arbor? There isn't much to do around here, kind of a pit stop more than anything as we continue our trek through the mountains and find Meteor Falls. It's here that we do find a hooded gang of outlaws harassing a scientist for his research. Now that just won't do at all, but right as we get ready to fight them off, who should come out of the woodwork than that same gang of pirates from before. They scare off the outlaws and then run off themselves, but not before hinting to me where they were off chasing the outlaws to. I gotta see the showdown through. To the top of the volcano we go. Aw, puppy fights. It's here that we find the leader of the outlaws, Maxie. Apparently he's gonna throw a rock in a volcano? Okay man, you do you. But before we can even question the legitimacy of his plan and whether it's worth the life of exile that he lives, he challenges us to a battle. Even though our current level cap keeps Skull Crusher from evolving, Steel does resist Dark in this generation, making it a great lead against Maxie's Mighty Yenna. We do try to reduce its speed and defense, but failing those, Metal Claw's our biggest damaging move. Except even though we resist Bite, we flinch too many times to stay in. But what should be an easy switch into Meatlug actually ends up hitting us with a critical hit, taking out more than half our HP in a single blow. Well, at least our Oranberry can keep us in the fight a bit longer. Fury Swipes almost KOs, forcing Maxie to heal, so we can just continue swiping furiously until his dog falls. But we're at too low of HP to stay in against his Zubat, which is weird to say. So we swap out a Stormfly, who takes half from Zubat's wing attack. Like, good God, I am not used to the amount of damage coming my way from such basic attacks. We're reaching the point of the game where our lack of stats is really working against us. Which, I mean, is the point, but still, it sucks. Oh, but we do have speed and Psychic KO, so at least we have that going for us. Another fortunate thing about new Toothless is he easily takes out Camerupt with Water Gun. No amount of super potions can save you now, boy. The outlaws disappear. The pirate captain thanks us for our cooperation, and they all vanish. I don't know what kind of territorial feud I put myself in the middle of, but there's no way I would miss out on pirates versus cowboys. But it's time to get back to our original goal.
Now we can make our way down the mountain and into Leverage Town, which is home to the next gym.
Here we can immediately take on Flannery, the fire-type gym leader. Fortunately, we have a strategy. Since Flannery loves to spam her signature move Overheat, we can spam Bulk Up until she fires one off, sharply lowering her normal special attack, and then take the turn putting it to sleep and healing off the damage with Yawn and Slack Off. Strength then gets the one shot on Numel, Slugma, Camerupt, and Torkoal, one right after another. It's pretty easy to take advantage of the fact that every one of her fire types are just the slowest Pokemon of all time. We don't even need stats to outspeed them. May meets us outside, gives us Inspector Gadget's goggles, and now we can finally access the sandy route. In 4 badges, we've only had 4 team members, and let's be real, Skull Crusher barely counts. But now we can access 2 different areas, the first of which is the Mirage Tower. Here, we could find the fossils, but unfortunately both Cordillea and Armaldo are just outside of our 500 base stat total mark, so they aren't technically viable encounters. However, inside the tower itself, we can find Wild Trapinch, which is definitely a viable encounter. There are no words for how excited I am to use a Flygon in Nuzlocke for the first time ever, and we name him Cloud Jumper. Now, we had to get our Mirage Tower encounter first, because outside the tower we can also find Trapinch, but importantly for our encounters today, we can also find Baltoy, which is not in the tower. Once we do find a Baltoy, we catch it and name it Thornado. Claydol is another Pokemon I have never used in a Nuzlocke, and I'm not entirely sure what to do with it. But I do love me some weird ground types. Now we get some leveling in, and with our new level cap, we can finally start reaching some final evolutions, such as Stormfly, who evolves into Gardevoir and finally has some usable stats. Not to mention impressively widening his move pool. We complete our mountain trek by making a big circle back to Rustboro City now that we have access to Rock Smash, then south from there into Petalburg. Remember our dad who we stopped to say hi to earlier? Yeah, he's a gym leader. Now it's time to beat his ass. Fortunately, Meatlug can come in once again and spam bulk up to increase attack and defense, while not hitting itself from Spinda's Confusion a single time. Strengthen one-shots every one of Dad's Pokemon except for Slacking, which just tries to put Meatlug to sleep, but is rendered useless thanks to Vital Spirit. What are we learning today, class? Good Pokemon with good moves don't need more than their bare minimum base stats, and I'm happy to see it. This badge unlocks the ability for us to travel the ocean, opening up new routes to explore, such as Route 119, where we can find Feebas. Wow, look at that! First try, amazing stuff. Totally real, definitely a Feebas. His name is Phantom. Did you know that Milotic has a base stat total of 540? Like, holy crap, that's so much higher than I expected. Unfortunately, our path to progress is blocked by pirates again, which gets weirder every time I say it. They have taken up residence in the Weather Institute? Well, that just won't do. I don't want to tune into the news every day just to see pirates tell me the weather. Think of the repercussions. Imagine what this will do to the economy. First mate Shelly leads with a Carvana, but we can easily bring in Stormfly, who, even though is weak to Dark, can set up Calm Mind boost since Dark is purely a special type in this gen. Then land the KO with a boost of Thunderbolt. The following Mightyena does pose some problems since Bite lands a flinch, but our berry keeps us in the fight. We stay in to try to land another hit and flinch a second time. Alright, let's just switch to Skull Crusher, but god damn, she gets swaggered and hits herself in confusion, and Bite leaves us at just 28 HP. Whatever. We do get an attack off and even heal a little bit with our berry, but another confusion hit and Bite land us too low to stay in to try another attack. But hey, Toothless can come in, lose a whopping half of his HP to Bite, my god, and then get swaggered again the next turn. Thankfully, we do land the Surf, but barely miss out on the KO. Literally, he lived on 1 HP, I swear to god. Not risking another hit or confusion, we switch out to Meatlug, outspeed, and finally KO the Hyena. You can see the cracks forming, man. Maybe you do need stats after all. Anyway, the hear tell of the Outlaws doing something no good, so obviously they must fulfill their contractually obligated duties to thwart their outlaw fun. I'm sure we'll have to deal with that later. For now though, we add Phantom to the team, boxing Toothless for the time being. I know, but think about it. We have 2 other ground types, and Milotic is just objectively better right now. No sense continuing to risk Toothless before he has a chance to actually reach the high base stats he needs to carry him through to the end. Especially since the rival fight is up next and she has 2 grass types. Her lead Slugma falls to Surf, but Grovile's in next. It does fall to 2 Ice Beams, but we take a lot more damage than expected from Leaf Blade, and not gonna lie to you, Chief, I thought we'd take that better. A critical hit certainly would have done us in, but that is not the reality we live in, and Grovile does fall. Lombre can't deal enough damage to Milotic to be a threat, giving him time to recover back his HP. Few Ice Beams later, and the fight is won. So we're free to enter Fortree City and challenge Gym Leader Winona, famous for her flying types, which are actually not much of a threat to us. Ice Beam doesn't quite take out her Swablu in 1 hit, but it can't do much of anything to Phantom before it falls. Potions be damned. Poor Tropius is 4 times weak to ice and falls much easier. Pelipper is just a sad case. I don't know what it is about the AI in this game, but if they have a Pokemon with Protect, as all Pelipper seem to have, they just spam that and almost nothing else. Even the damage we do take from Confusion, we have plenty of opportunities to heal off with Recover. Phantom is a menace. Eventually, the bird falls as well. Skarmory is another case of just not being able to deal meaningful damage to Milotic. I guess this is as good a time as any to say that Milotic is invaluable because it just naturally has crazy high HP and special defense. That means it is great at taking most hits and has access to Recover to heal HP, which is not a luxury usually afforded in Hardcore Nuzlocke. And yes, I know flying is physical in this generation, but Winona's Pokemon suck. Altaria is her last one, and it is again 4 times weak to ice, but surprisingly, it actually lives through the ice beam and sets up a dragon dance. We try to use Twister, but miss the attack. Earthquake does some scary damage to us, and though our Citrus Berry activates, we don't have enough left in the tank to stay in. Fortunately, we do have Tornado in the back, who has the ability to Levitate, can switch in for free, force Altaria to go for another Dragon Dance, and pick up the KO with his own Ice Beam. With the turkey frozen, Winona hands us our 6th gym badge. We are cleaning up shop. And with our new level cap again comes some new evolutions, such as Meatlug evolving into Slacking. And yes, while I know sometimes it is advantageous to keep a Vigoroth, the point of the challenge is actually have those high base stat total Pokemon and see if they can still carry their weight. So Meatlug has to fully evolve to have that stat total. Leaving it a Vigoroth would be cheating, but also it's probably too frail to stay on the team anyway at that point. We also evolved Tornado and Cloud Jumper, and Skull Crusher evolved too. She actually evolved at Winona's level cap, but we didn't use her for that fight, so wasn't quite that glamorous. The next city over, Lily Cove, houses a massive department store for all our shopping needs, but it's guarded by a treacherous warrior. We must answer her riddles 3 and defeat her in combat should we wish wish to gain access to the treasure trove of wonders. Bay leads off with another Tropius, so Phantom puts that plant in the dirt where it belongs with a single Ice Beam. Grovyle might be an issue, but we get lucky and our Ice Beam actually lands a freeze, so I guess we'll never know. Slugma falls to Surf, as is his calling in life, and Pelipper just spams Protect until it dies to Ice Beam. And we get another freeze in the process. Well, you know, I have a craving to go back to the mountains. It's been a while, you know? Kinda miss the view. Wait, I don't remember this ominous hole. What could possibly be inside? Something nefarious? Hey, I know that guy. The outlaw, Maxi. There is something nefarious afoot. That man's got a giant lizard. Something tells me we better beat them up. Fortunately, his Mightyena falls to 2 uses of Surf and somehow missed a scary face in the middle, which I didn't know could happen. Crobat does try to confuse Phantom, but we hit an Ice Beam through it, and even though Maxi tries to heal the next turn, we land another Ice Beam freeze. This might be some of the best luck I've ever had in a Nuzlocke, except it immediately thaws, but I mean, that's okay. We snap out of confusion and land the KO, and Camerupt easily falls to Surf. Maxi runs off, the lizard jumps out of the cave, and I guess our trip to the mountains is over? Maybe the beach is more my speed. I could use a swim. Oh, and we've reached Moss Deep City, home of the next gym. That's right, we need to fight those. I almost forgot. First, we gotta get the team up to snuff, including finally fully evolving Toothless into his swampy glory. Then we immediately tackle the gym leaders, Tate and Liza. We lead off with Stormfly and Phantom, but because our defenses are pretty pathetic, and Tate and Liza boast some strong attacks, Stormfly is equipped with Light Screen and Reflect, the latter of which we set up to reduce the damage we take from Claydol's incoming Earthquake. Xatu just goes for Calm Mind, while Phantom starts surfing to deal spread damage. Unfortunately, the next turn Xatu sets up the sun, which will reduce the damage Surf can do, but Stormfly skips Light Screen for now to take out the bird with a strong Thunderbolt. Now Phantom can take out Claydol with Ice Beam while tanking his sidekick from the newly entered Soul Rock, in part thanks to Stormfly setting up the Light Screen. That should nerf the damage of their Space Rock combo of Mons. Now we can take the time to recover Phantom and swap Stormfly out to Toothless. We do this because Soul Rock will never Solar Beam the Gardevoir slot, and since Toothless is 4 times weak to the move, he should bait the attack next turn while we stall out Sun. So we swap out Toothless for Meatlug, but Soul Rock actually does finally hit Solar Beam into Milotic, which doesn't do much. There's a reason why it has overlapping roles to Psychic. Lunatone is also doing a great job making himself useless with screens and Hypnosis misses, so we aren't too worried about him. Sun runs out this turn, so Surf is back up in power, which means Soul Rock just sets up Sun again. Yay. Meatlug puts Lunatone to sleep, Lunatone puts Phantom to sleep, Meatlug switches out for Soul Crusher, Phantom wakes up and KOs Soul Rock, Lunatone wakes up and knocks Meatlug to red, an unexpected move as we switch him back in for Skull Crusher. Like, seriously, why did you Psychic the Steel type? And Phantom then KOs the Lunatone as well. Double battles are just hectic, okay? Anyway, we've got some free time before the next gym since the story needs time to unfurl, so can we make a quick detour to check out the Space Center real quick? Would you mind if I... Oh my god, good lord, what is happening in here? Cowboys in space? Not in my Pokemon game, they don't. Fortunately, their guards are about half our level, so let's just skip to the end where we find Maxi again. And it seems he's been cornered by... Wait, that's the guy we delivered the letter to. Is he the region sheriff? Champion? Whatever. He asked for our help to drive out the outlaws, and we happily oblige. We lead Stormfly to set up Light Screen and Calm Mind to boost our special defense against the outlaws' Dark and Fire types. A boosted Thunderbolt then KOs Mightyena. Now we face off against 2 Camerupt, so we switch out to Phantom and surf them down, KOing one and leaving the other hanging on by just a sliver after 2 uses of the move. With some help from Steven's Metang to target the incoming Mightyena, another surf KOs both opposing Pokemon. The remaining Pokemon, Golbat and Crobat, are no match for a combination of Ice Beam and Metal Claw. Consider these outlaws earthbound. Sheriff Steven invites us over for a cup of tea and gives us the HM for Dive, which will allow us to explore the bottom of the ocean. For some reason. Well, I don't need to be told twice. Let's find us some undersea caves. Oh, this one seems nice. Wait a second, there's a whole ass submarine in here. Could it be pirates? Hey, there's a whale over here. Oh, Captain Archie. That is your name, right? Can I call you Arch? Guess we gotta fight this guy too. They don't like me stumbling into their bases very much, do they? Archie leads off with Mightyena, but Meatlug is more than enough to take it out pretty easily with Strength after a turn to bulk up. Meatlug does then hurt himself in confusion, but the next turn he can move, because remember, we have Truant, so Meatlug can only attack every other turn. We do heal with the Slack Off and finally hit another Strength to take out Crobat as well. A third Strength takes out Sharpedo before it even takes the opportunity to attack. Then out of nowhere, the outlaws show up, the whale jumps out of the cave somehow, and between a lot of finger pointing, make our way out of the cave, and I don't remember the pirate weatherman saying there was gonna rain today. Everyone seems really upset about the storm, but like honestly, I think they need to get a grip. I'm busy, I gotta make my way to the next gym, which is in Sutopolis. So we make our way over there and oh, good for you guys, taking up all this prime real estate. Look at there's gods in my ocean. And let me guess, I gotta clear out your little feud, take care of your demigod ass situation here before I can make my way to the last gym badge, huh? Is that it? Fine, I know a guy. We go wake up my guy, he's a snake, don't judge, who breaks up the whale and lizard from their fight and sends them back to their caverns to plot their next ascension in approximately 3 months. Now kids, what have we learned today? Pirate or cowboy doesn't matter. If you try to destroy the world, you will face no consequences, so go for it. And remember, the first step to any evil plot is to have fun and be yourself. Whatever, gym time. I'm pretty focused if you can't tell. Rare for me, to be honest. Gotta take advantage when the moon strikes, you know? Oh, and we evolve Cloudjumper to Flygon. I love him. Juan is the final gym leader, a water type user. He leads with a love disc that, yeah, it isn't taking any hit from slacking. Doesn't matter what our attack stat is. Wishcash I'm actually less certain of KOing, so we put to sleep first and then take it out with strength. Against Juan's Celio, however, unfortunately we can't keep up with the barrage of attacks and confusion, and since we can only move every turn to try to heal it off, it's too much. But we do get one hit and then switch out a Stormfly, who with Trace can pick up Celio's thick fat ability and give himself a resistance to the incoming Aurora Beam, which is handy. Thunderbolt then cleans up the kill. We don't keep Stormfly in against Groudon just in case of incoming dark type attacks, but Phantom does a great job between rounds of Juan's healing with a couple uses of Twister. Kingdra proves to be a pain, not really dealing any damage to us and being forced to rest repeatedly, so when we run low on uses of Phantom's Ice Beam, we switch out to Toothless and spam Earthquake, which still allows Kingdra to heal to keep itself in the fight. Just barely, but it can't keep up the act forever. Eventually, Kingdra falls, and the final gym badge is ours. We do have one more pit stop to make. Now that we can use Waterfall, we not only have access to the Elite Four, but also this Bat Cave within Meteor Falls. And here, not only do we find the TM for Dragonclaw, but we can also find the incredibly rare encounter, Bagon. We catch her and name her Axewing, completing our encounters for the run. To remind you of our encounter criteria, we are only catching Pokemon with final forms of 500 or higher base stat totals that are not legendaries belonging to Generation 3. Now, if you're a real Pokemon nerd, maybe you know that there are other Pokemon that fit that criteria. Wailord and Walrein are the other two possible encounters, but especially now that Toothless is a Swampert, we just aren't hurting for water types between him and Phantom. If I wipe to the Elite Four, it certainly won't be because I didn't catch a Spheal. We do reset Axewing's stats to a flat 0 and then evolve her all the way into a Salamence thanks to our level cap. Now we climb our way into Victory Road. Just through this cavern, the Elite Four is waiting. The final roadblock, or so I thought. This weird kid with green hair stops us halfway through the cave and challenges us to a battle. Unfortunately, we are not allowed to say no. Also unfortunately, this time for the kid, we have a Salamence, and it doesn't need good IVs to still be, well, a Salamence. Dragon Breath 2 shots his lead Altaria, lands a critical hit KO against Delcatty, Flamethrower takes out both Magneton and Roselia, and after Stormfly can come in to resist Gardevoir's strong Future Sight, he can KO with Thunderbolts. So with that out of the way, it's time to challenge the real final fights. One Elite Four versus a team of great Pokemon with terrible stats. And honestly, it's only having good Pokemon that are keeping me in the game at all. If I try this again, maybe in a future stream or video, it'd be interesting to see how the run would go without any set good encounters and just have no stats on the random encounters in a Nuzlocke. But hey, you'll have to let me know if that's something you might be interested in seeing in the future. For now though, with only 8 encounters, team building is pretty easy since, well, I don't have a lot of options. We end up leaving behind Toothless and Tornado. I know. How can I leave Toothless? Well, Phantom is just better as a water type. And since this is Emerald and not Ruby or Sapphire, the ground type is a hindrance more than any kind of advantage. Last time I took on Emerald, I tried using more dynamic level caps to match each member as we went, but not only did that cause problems thanks to me completely forgetting to do it for one member, it proves largely unnecessary. So we'll stick to the normal level cap of the highest level of the last Elite Four member, this time Drake, keeping us a bit under leveled during the champion fight. So with our team of 6 having their EVs reset one final time back to 0, we enter the Elite Four. No stats, no problem. Round 1, time to face Sydney. We lead with Skull Crusher, who I hope can do some good work with her dark resistance, but Mightyena just spams Sand Attack to lower our accuracy, so it's not worthwhile to stay in. We swap out to Axewing, immediately click Dragonclaw, and land a critical hit KO to lead off. Not bad at all. We do bring Skull Crusher back in against Sydney's Absol since there is just no way for it to boost its attack enough to break our armor. A few Rock Tombs let us outspeed, and Metal Claw lands enough hits for the KO. We can flip-flop back to Axewing against Crawdaunt since she resists the incoming Surf, and Dragonclaw fells the Lobster. Shiftry doesn't have any hope against Fly, and neither does Cacturn. Even with no EVs and the lowest possible IVs, Aggron and Salamence alone are enough for poor Sydney, but let's be real, it's mostly because Sydney kinda fails at his job. Let's see how we fare against Phoebe next. We want to lead off with Cloudjumper since Phoebe's lead Dusclops mostly just wants to protect. And we have Crunch. So even though there's a lot of stalled turns involved, there isn't much the Ghost can do to survive our onslaught. The second Dusclops, however, is much scarier, actually packing Ice Beam, but it's nothing Phantom can't take. Skull Crusher unfortunately isn't much of an option since this Dusclop also carries Earthquake, but oh well. It takes 3 uses of the move, but Surf does eventually take out the second Mummy. 2 Puppet Ghosts and a Goblin left in the wings, so when Bayonet comes out, we expect it to be the one with Thunderbolt and correctly predict the move by switching back in Cloud Jumper. Though we take good damage from Shadow Ball, we still outspeed and are able to 2-shot the Banette with ease. The second Banette falls in the same way. Against Sableye, we bring in Skull Crusher, but miss most of our attacks due to his double teaming. It is unfortunate, but we can't stay in too long against Nightshade, which deals a massive chunk of damage to our low HP dinosaur. So we bring in Meatlug, who can't do anything but put Sableye to sleep, but that's more than enough since now we can bring in Axewing and finally finish the job with Dragonclaw. Second Elite Four took every Pokemon on my team that wasn't weak to Ghost to beat. Glacia's up next, the Ice-type user. And she's plenty scary even in regular runs, but on paper at least, our current team has every advantage it needs. Skull Crusher is a strong enough lead to one-shot her first Celio with a critical hit Rock Tomb, and Axewing can switch into the expected Surf to resist the hit and lower Walreign's attack. All this culminating in our switch back to Stormfly, employing our earlier strat of copying his Thick Fat to gain a nice ice resist. Now we are free to Calm Mind and KO, eventually, with Thunderbolt. Against Glalie, we switch to Skull Crusher again, but she actually ends up frozen by Glalie's Ice Beam. Well, it wouldn't be a Glacia fight if some kind of BS didn't happen. Fortunately, our Citrus Berry keeps us in the fight another turn, so we take the chance to thaw and do. Metal Claw sends the Ice Cube back to the freezer where he belongs. Against her second Celio, we try using Phantom, but the attract strats are just too strong. We take too much damage from Double Edge, and not being able to reliably heal it off will put her at too much risk. And I can't afford to lose Phantom here, so we swap back to Stormfly, just need to survive 1 hit and do. We switch Phantom back in and continue pelting the seal with Twister until it falls. The last Glalie takes 2 hits from Surf and pieces out. Annoying, but we had the answers we needed. Time for Drake. This will be a long one. I can feel it. Or, you know, maybe not, since Phantom one-shots both Shelgon and Altaria right off the bat. Okay, cool. But then Kingdra comes in next, so we bring in Meatlug to put it to sleep. Now we have the opportunity to bring in Axewing, but Dragonclaw just misses the KO. And now Drake will use a full restore to bring his dragon back to full health. Okay, well, it's actually not that big a deal at all since Kingdra's only dragon type move is Dragon Dance, which it goes for twice while we spam the claw until we win the War of Attrition. When Flygon comes out, we should be able to live a single attack since it just says Dragon Breath, but unfortunately the effects of Kingdra are still felt since we actually missed the 100% accurate Dragonclaw thanks to Smokescreen lowering our accuracy earlier. Well, guess we gotta switch. In comes Phantom to take an Earthquake and land the one shot with Ice Beam. Always a good failsafe. Though that's not really enough since there's no way to survive an attack from Drake's last Pokemon, his own Solomons. We switch in Skull Crusher, but she takes a massive critical hit, taking 2/3 of her HP in a single blow. Citrus keeps us over half, but now what? Skull Crusher is my best option of this terrifying dragon. But if we took that much from Dragonclaw, do we even survive Flamethrower? Honest answer, probably not. Let's swap in Meatlug, put this thing to sleep, then risk the second crit to swap back to Skull Crusher on another Dragonclaw. Aggron's special attack is pathetic as it is, much less with minimum stats, so Ice Beam does only a little over half despite the 4 times weakness. But we need to risk the wake up here and hit again, which we do. Solomon's Falls. This statless team is about to go all the way. Time to face Champion Wallace. If you want my honest thoughts going into the fight, we simply don't have enough advantage to get out of it freely, especially being out-leveled. But we're going to get through this one way or another. Wailord is a terrifying lead, but we bring in Stormfly to pull off what I like to call the Lightning Bug special. First, we attack to reduce the power of Water Spout, then we boost our, oh, we got a crit. Oh, that works too, I suppose. Well then, against Tentacruel, we can hit a super effective Psychic, but unfortunately we are outsped in the process to take a massive hit from Sludge Bomb. We can't try to fire a second hit since Tentacruel isn't low enough for Wallace to want to heal, so we switch out to Skull Crusher to take the Sludge Bomb freely, then bring in Phantom to the incoming Hydro Pump. But I realize that Phantom can't really do anything to Tentacruel either, so we switch into Meatlug and easily KO the Jelly with Strength. Against Ludicolo, we bring in Axewing, avoid the Leech Seed, and almost KO with Fly. I'm noticing a pattern here. Oh, whatever. Let's Flamethrower first so we don't make him heal, then we can fly and land on this Milotic. Okay, interesting. Yeah, nothing I can say here. We just got massively outplayed. Wallace brings in his Serpent on the turn we begin our aerial attack, so the next turn we can only watch in horror as Axewing lands on the Milotic, who tanks the hit handily and retaliates with a massive Ice Beam which one-shots poor Axewing. Well, she got us this far, but honestly, I was a little underwhelmed, though I suppose that's the point of this. I'm sorry, Axewing. We just got outplayed. Stormfly can take a Surf and retaliate with Thunderbolt, which still doesn't kill, but we do get the Paralyze, so now we can outspeed and finally take it out with a second Thunderbolt. Ludicolo comes back, so we bring in Meatlug and take just a huge amount of damage from a single Surf. Like, I'm beyond surprised. We might be massively outmatched here. Wallace just has the stats that we do not. Strength the next turn doesn't even KO the Ludi. It lives and double teams, meaning we don't even have a guaranteed hit against it anymore. Not to mention the fact that Slaking can't move this turn at all. So we have to switch Phantom back in, but a full restore starts us all over again anyway. A lucky critical hit Ice Beam does help, but when we get hit by Leech Seed, we have to swap out to Cloud Jumper. We just can't afford it to be healing while also having a chance to miss every attack. Speaking of, Jumper actually misses the first fly and loses half of his HP to Surf. We don't have a choice though, we have to fly again. This time, the attack does land. Ludicolo falls. Gyarados is in next. So we switch in Skull Crusher, who eats the dragon's Hyper Beam easily and lands a Rock Tomb to deal good damage and lower its speed. Next turn, we know Surf is coming, and we can't KO at this range before taking a hit, so we switch back to Cloud Jumper, just needing him to survive one neutral hit, and he does. We're hoping to see Hyper Beam for a clean KO, so we switch back to Skull Crusher, and Gyarados takes the bait, but misses the attack. Well, now there's no recharge turn, and we can't switch back to Cloud Jumper. He won't take another hit like that and still bait Hyper Beam. Unfortunately, the best thing we can do now is let Skull Crusher fall. You were here with us for so long, even before we could really use you in battle as a tiny baby Aeron. Rest well, Queen. You deserve it. You deserve it. Meatlug is up, and with Gyarados' speed still lowered, we confidently land the KO with Strength. The fight is almost over. Again, our best play is to let Meatlug go down with the ship. We take a single Surf on the loafing turn, and then can land a Yawn before our Sloth is buried in the waves. Thank you, Meatlug. We're almost through it, thanks to you. Phantom comes in, and all we need to do is spam Surf until the fish is fried, but unfortunately, Wishcash goes for Amnesia, which will make that much harder for us to do. Surf does almost nothing the next turn now that his special defense is doubled. When it wakes up and launches a Hyper Beam, we can't even take the chance to heal, since Wallace could heal at any moment. Like that. Wishcash uses Earthquake, and Phantom survives on just 4 HP. Just to rub salt in the wound the next turn, the fish goes for Hyper Beam, lands a critical hit, and causes our poor, beautiful Phantom to fall as well. It couldn't be helped. We are in real danger of not being able to finish this, but not so easily. Fly is still a physical move, so we bring in Cloud Jumper to exact his revenge. A single fly while Wishcash recharges lands a critical hit in retaliation, and it's over. Finally, that was a close one. Much closer than even some of my previous Trash Lock runs, which was well and surprising. But regardless of that, I guess we can officially say, player defeated. Pokemon Emerald. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked this challenge and want to see more, consider subscribing. New Nuzlocke and Pokemon Challenge content coming your way soon. And if you want to see more videos right now, you can check out some of the previous Nuzlocke runs I've done in the annotations coming up on your screen. I promise you'll like them maybe even more than this one. And when you like them, you'll hit the like button, right? Right. Anyway, that's all from me for today. Again, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will catch y'all in the next run. See ya.